In session 76, we're going to be multiplying fractions. And as you remember, whenever you have fractions that you multiply together, you take your numerators and multiply them together. And then you take your denominators and multiply them together. After you've done that, normally you are asked to then write your answer in lowest terms, so that you would then have to go through the process of taking that multiplied answer and then reducing it to get into your lowest terms. Another method is, if you remember, canceling fractions before you actually multiply them. You look for common factors in the numerators and the denominators ahead of time, and you cancel those out. And then once that's canceled, you then go ahead and multiply your remaining uh, numbers together, and then you get an answer that is more likely going to be in lowest terms if you effectively factored out everything to begin with. And the same is true when you use algebraic fractions. Oftentimes it's helpful to factor out common factors ahead of time and cancel those out, so then when you're multiplying smaller quantities together. Sometimes it's more manageable that way. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. X plus 3y over 2x times 6y over 2x plus 6y. If we come down here to the bottom, we can see that there is a common factor between 2x and 6y. The common factor is not the x and the y, because those are different variables, but if you take a look at their coefficients, both 2 and 6 have a common factor of 2. So what I'd like to do here is to rewrite this second fraction as 6y over 2 times x plus 3y. And if we went ahead and distributed this through, 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 3y is 6y. So we see what we have down here at the bottom is equivalent to what we had to start with. And if you also take a look here now, we can see that this 6 times the y, since both of these are being multiplied, we can take this 6 now and cancel it with this 2. That 2 is gone, and when we cancel the 6, we're now left with a 3. So what we actually have on top now is 3 times y, and what we have on bottom is simply x plus 3y. So I'm going to change colors here, and what we're going to do is rewrite. This x plus 3y has had nothing done to it. We have not canceled anything. So I'm simply going to rewrite it. Then in our second fraction, 6y over 2x plus 6y, that has now been canceled and rewritten as 3y over x plus 3y. At this point, we can now see that we have an x plus 3y in both our numerator and our denominator. We can now cancel those out. And remember, anytime you cancel out, you're still left with a 1 out front. X plus 3y was being multiplied by 1. It's just oftentimes we don't write it. But it was there to begin with. And the same down here. This x plus 3y doesn't cancel out and leave us a 0. It cancels out and leaves us a 1, because that x plus the 3y was being multiplied by a 1. So then there's nothing else for us to cancel out. Now we can perform the multiplications. 1 times a 3y is going to be a 3y, so that's what our numerator is. And then on the bottom, 2x times 1 will simply be 2x. And there's nothing further that we can do to reduce this. So our original question of x plus 3y over 2x times 6y over 2x plus 6y gives us an answer of 3y over 2x. We'll go ahead now and do one more, which will actually be a little bit simpler, and then that'll wrap up this session. 2x over 9 times x minus 3 over 12. At first glance here, it doesn't look like there's maybe a whole lot we can do, but if you take a look here at your coefficient for x is a 2. Was there anything we can cancel up with the 9? No, there are no common factors there, but there is a common factor between the 2 and the 12, and the common factor is the 2 itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this 12 as 2 times 6. And after we do that, at 2 times 6 representing the 12, we can actually now cancel. That 2 cancels with that 2. And at this point, there's nothing else to do other than perform the multiplication. So x times x, we're going to use our distributive property. X times x is x squared. X times a minus 3 is a minus 3x. So that's what our numerator is. And on the bottom, we have 9 times 6, which is 54. At this point, we're finished. If we were to try to go ahead and factor out the x up top, we could, but that's just going to leave us with an x times an x minus 3 again. And there are no common factors in the denominator, so this is in fact in lowest terms, x squared minus 3x over 54. Quickly as a review, when you're multiplying fractions together, it's often helpful to factor out the common factors ahead of time, the common factors in the numerators and denominators, before you perform all the multiplications. This will help yield you an answer that will be in lowest terms. And then lastly, just to officially state it, whenever you are multiplying fractions together, such as a over b times c over d, you multiply your numerators together, a times c, and that's what we get over here, and you multiply your denominators together, b times d, which gives us our bd over here. That finishes session 76.